All right, welcome to the marketing workshop. We're going to do a series on how to grow your business with your brand. And so I want to jump right in because we don't have a moment to waste. Getting your face and your name out there in a way that's recognizable is really, really important. And so I want to walk you through a lot of information, but also some application. And then as we proceed through the series, we're going to go through how you can set up your personal profiles and your brand consistently so that as people are finding you or looking you up, that they're seeing something that resonates with them because there's a consistency there to what you're presenting to the world. So without further ado, I am going to jump into this. Let's go here. So here's a little bit about what we're going to cover in these next few weeks. We're going to cover personal branding, what it means to present yourself to the marketplace. We're going to cover search engines, why that's important. We're going to cover some real estate websites and what you can do to present yourself on the most searchable websites for real estate. And then we're going to get into a little bit of social with Instagram and YouTube and LinkedIn so that you can, again, make sure that you're in all the places where consumers might be looking and that you have a professional profile and page set up so that you can attract the right kind of people and hopefully grow your business by, again, starting to fill that lead funnel up so that over time you have a more consistent business because of lead generation that's happening without you having to continue to really invest a ton of time into it once it's set up. Sound good?
Yes.
All right. So purpose. I want to start with purpose because it's really important. I want this to be really valuable. I also want it to be interactive, but that means you have to definitely show up and then, of course, do the work. That means your participation is important so that you get the most out of this. I am a firm believer that you get out of it what you put into it. So again, we're going to help you with understanding how to create your personal brand, learning the mindset of a consumer, creating a marketing presence online, getting a basic understanding of digital marketing, and then gaining better visibility in the marketplace, because that's what's going to help keep your business growing over time, is by you leveraging your time and making sure that you are getting it top of mind awareness in front of people. So we're going to jump right in with starting with what is brand, because this is really the crux of it. How do we establish a brand before we know what it is? We don't. So we're going to talk about what brand is here. And realistically, a lot of people confuse brand with marketing, and they are two different things. Brand is how you are known. And so I've got a couple of definitions up here on the screen that I pulled from some people, but brand is really more about the concept. It's intangible. It's how people perceive or feel about what you offer as far as a product or a service. The marketing is the tangible assets that happen from that. And marketing is what we step into once we've established a brand. It's very hard to market effectively if you are not clear on what message you're conveying. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah, we all have to look at marketing that's going on, and most of the time marketing should be a reminder of what a brand is or what it means. Although marketing can also help introduce you to people that maybe you've not known before. And so we're going to talk about how you build out your brand concept first. And then when we get into this later, we're going to talk about marketing further down in the series. So, oops, let me forward here. So your brand should be something that people can articulate when they ask about how was it to work with you. I asked you to do some homework last night and come prepared because I thought it would be interesting to talk a little bit about what other brands convey and why they mean something to you. And so share with me real quick what brand you chose as far as one that you really like or respect or enjoy.
I chose Nike. And I chose Nike because the price is reasonable, their quality of product, and it's durable. So Nike is the one brand that I can buy that doesn't tear. My kids outgrow it before it tears. So
That's
I stick
awesome.
with Nike for a lot of my purchases.
Sure. And those are great reasons to affiliate with a brand and be loyal to it, right? And so you know that there's a value there. And so despite the cost, because there are certainly cheaper alternatives, right?
Yes.
But despite the cost being higher, you understand there's a value that's exchanged there and you're willing to pay their prices to get that quality that is going to last. It's not going to tear, it's not going to break down prematurely. And that's important, especially as a mom who's busy and you don't have time to go out and replace something every, 30 days just because it wore out. Those are
Right.
those are values that you've identified that you connect with. And so in the same way, consumers are looking for a brand that they can understand and connect with in real estate. I will share that I've had many clients in the past, um, on the broad spectrum, some that are extremely loyal will never use anyone else because they understood the messaging and they connected with the brand of who I am and what I do for them. I've had other clients, on the other hand, who really could care less about the brand. They're not brand loyalists, and there are people out there that are like that. They may have other brands that they are loyal to, but in regards to real estate, to them it was just transactional. We did the job, we got it done, they closed it, and they're done. It's not there. There's no desire there to have an ongoing relationship or to have a trusted advisor. They just felt like they wanted a transaction. And I would venture to guess that almost all of these brands that we see on the screen are recognizable and have thousands, if not millions, of loyal customers because they've built a brand that connects based on value. And most people don't go just for a transaction, right? Because we all
Right.
know there's alternate options in the marketplace for any of these brands. We can choose to use or consume something from a different brand, but for whatever reason, consumers have explored these options, found them to add value to their lives, and now are following and consistently buying into what they sell. And that's what we want to create, is that brand awareness that really just builds value. So we're going to go through and ask a series of questions right now. And I want you to take some notes because this is going to be the start of how we discover what your story is and what you're delivering so that you can clearly convey in a brand message and then create a brand identity around something that's really special to you. So the first question is, what happened in your past to drive this passion of yours or to get you where you are here? Um, I will tell you, for a lot of agents I talk to in sitting in a recruiting interview, I've had many that have shared various stories, but one of the most common is, well, I went through a real estate transaction, and in their minds, it was a transaction, and I didn't like how the agent did it. And so they decided to get into real estate because they wanted to fix a perceived problem that they had. There was an issue and they were drawn to. I have other people that obviously are drawn to real estate because they believe there's such flexibility in being an entrepreneur and running your own business. And so they want the ability to, you know, uh, be a parent or pursue a hobby, maybe at a high level. And then, of course, have an income that's fairly good on the side, or they think it's going to be on the side. So,
Mhm.
whatever it is that drove you to get into real estate, I want you just to write it down and really underline what the key takeaway is. Um, what you're going to find is that this is going to start to help you understand what values you have, because whatever drove you to get into real estate industry is what's going to help you connect better to clients who appreciate what you do. And so this is understanding your why, and your why can change over time. What got you in or what happened in your past may not be the reason you're staying in, but again, I hope that you're starting to write down some of the values that you're finding. All right, question number 2: what makes you angry? This is a funny one because I really did consider doing the opposite, but I know it's so hard for so many people to articulate what they love. You know, it's a lot easier to articulate many times what frustrates us or makes us angry. And it's those things that we're passionate about fixing, right? Those become the things that we really want to address. And so, when you are able to articulate what makes you angry in the world, maybe it is people not being able to secure a loan and buy their first home, or maybe it's seeing discrimination in the real estate marketplace. Maybe it's affordability issues. Maybe it's homelessness. Maybe it's whatever it could be for you. Maybe it's agents that aren't doing a great job, and you feel like this industry needs to raise the bar and have a much more professional image. That can be a driving factor. But what I want to get behind or underneath this layer is, what's the passion there? What's the thing that makes you wake up at night thinking about real estate, or thinking about how you can create a better business, or serve someone at a higher level? And when we know what it is that you're aligned with, much like people choose to align with a charitable organization because they're passionate about something that drives value and changes the world, then you can start to align with clients who feel the same way, who have a passion to see a difference. And when you attract those right clients, it makes your job so much more enjoyable. So write down again anything that pops into your mind about what maybe is frustrating to you about this particular industry, or who might need service in this industry that could help with you um, finding that shared passion with a client. All right, and the last question: why does your brand exist? Why are you in business? This really comes down to what you bring, because when you know why you exist, if you're existing to maybe in your example, Latanya, maybe you exist to help military families relocate easily.
Mhm.
If that's your why, then what value you bring is understanding everything about VA loans, orders for transfer. Maybe the value you bring is helping have a list of communities that are within a 5 mile radius of a base. Maybe there's a value you bring that just is a very different value than what any other agent can deliver. And so when you bring that value to them, they instinctively are going to want to work with you. They're going to have a better experience, right? And then they're going to tell the world about you because of that experience. And so I want you to write down why you are doing what you do, or what value you bring, so that again, you're just creating a baseline of clarity around what your messaging going to be. So I've got some examples, as well as I want to talk through just real quickly how you now make that impact. The first is, we found the meaning. And if you are speaking to values to other people, that's going to resonate. That story is going to connect with the right people, and hopefully attract the right kinds of clients to you. The next is having an experience that you deliver. And so, again, having that experience, hopefully, what it's doing is overcoming a pain point or a frustration. And in that, the experience that you're giving your clients is starting to create touch points that allow them to have a fantastic experience throughout the entire process, from uh, the moment they decide to buy or sell, to the moment they're under contract, to when they're going through negotiations during the sale, or bumps in the road during the sale, to the title appointment and the final walkthrough, and then that day that they finally get their keys, and hopefully even longer. We want to go beyond the sale with touch points. When you deliver an experience that's exceptional, that's what creates that brand loyalty. People remember that. And I will tell you, just as you're creating your brand, one of the best things I can tell you is, within the first 90 days of closing, that is the best time to capitalize on that experience and ask for another referral, or ask them who else they might know, or ask them to write that testimonial. Once you go past that 90 days, a lot of clients will start to forget all those details and those wonderful things, those yummy moments they had with you that were just exceptional, and it becomes more of a blur. And they remember it as, yeah, everything went smoothly, or it was great, or she helped find the home, but they don't have the details there that they used to have. And so think about creating touch points, and then afterwards making sure that um, that you're asking for that referral, because that's going to play a role in how we build your brand out. And then the last thing is trust. Trust is so essential to brand loyalty. Would you agree? If
Yes.
you didn't trust that Nike built something that was going to last, you would not continue to go back again and again to purchase their product. That is why we have to create consistency. We have to have an actual plan before, during, and after every sale to create a consistent experience for the consumer so they learn to trust. And so that when they trust, they can then begin to refer us to other people because they have that value connection and that ability to say, I believe this person can do a great job for you too. So we're going to work on doing that. So here's some things that we're going to start with as we get into this workshop. Would you agree we're in a very noisy and a very crowded marketplace?
Yes.
Yeah, we statistics just came out with the National Home Buyer and Seller Report. We went from 1.4 million realtors to now 1.56 million realtors in the nation. There are so many people in this industry all trying to make a mark and get their piece of the pie. And so what that means is we have to get clear on what our brand is and what we convey as a value to consumers if we expect them to choose us over any one of the thousands of other agents in our marketplace. And so this is where we're going to start getting real creative, because I want you to be able to put words to who you are and what you do, and to be able to teach people how to refer you in a meaningful way, so that you create more revenue for yourself, but you also create more consistency and more choice in your business. So with that, oops, let me go back. I don't know what happened, but let me squeeze through here. So with that, I'm going to try and use it this way. Here we go. So have you ever had the question, why should I work with you? I don't,
No.
I'll say my experience is that at some point, if you haven't yet, you probably will. It becomes something that certain consumers will just ask when they're especially interviewing multiple agents. It's something I see on a lot of websites as promoted as one of the questions that people should ask when interviewing agents for the job. And so I'm one of those that I think you should be prepared to answer this question. And if you are able to articulate the value to them and why they should connect with you and work with you, it will help you build your confidence, but it will also make sure that if you communicate why they should work with you and they don't agree, it's okay to let them go. We are not suited to meet the needs of every person, and we don't necessarily need to work with every person. And so helping clarify why someone should work with you and not with X, Y, or Z realtors is going to help make sure that the clients who do choose to work with you are working with you for the right reasons, which is super important, because we want them to be attracted to what you deliver and not just, again, going through a transaction. And transactions are fine, but really what we want to do is build a lifelong business based on trust, and have consumers that want to do repeat business with us and refer us more business. So we want to create advocates in the marketplace, and we can't do that if we don't connect with them at a deeper level. So here's some reasons why a client might work with you. And some of these reasons are based on just personality profiling. When you start to understand who you are as a personality, it will play into how you communicate your brand. There are agents, the majority of agents, that are very outgoing, very fast paced, very loud, very social, very confident. They want to drive things forward and continue to create results. There are other agents that are more laid back. They're either just the kind that wants to make sure everybody's protected and everybody has a home, because they just love creating that moment where people can have a place to make memories and safety and security. Or they may be the kind of agent who is just very detail oriented and wants to make sure everything goes smoothly. Whatever your value is, or whoever you are, you can create a value proposition that speaks to clients. And those clients that will align with you are going to be the ones that understand what that value means to them. So these are just some of the examples. If you have one that you like or that you see something in here that's stands out to you, make sure to write it down because it may be something that helps trigger you along the way to create other value propositions. And so this is just again a sampling, but we're going to go through the process of kind of writing our own in this workshop. Okay. So with this, we're going to create an anthem that's going to help us. The first thing I'm going to have you do is write down who do you want to help. You need to understand who your ideal client is if you're going to brand yourself in a way that makes sense and connects with that target market, right? And so if you know who it is that you want to help, it will steer, if you will, your messaging in the right direction. You also need to know how you're going to help them. So if you have a niche that you really love or just something you're passionate about, maybe it goes back to that pain point of what angers you that you see in the marketplace. If you know what you want to help, who you want to help, and how you want to help, it's going to really make crafting a branding message very easy. So do you have something there written down?
I do. Mine is always military.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. And again, this is just so that you're becoming clear on what your brand is going to convey because you understand the heart and mind of those people that are coming to another place that they've never been before, have no sense of community, no real connection yet, and yet they're expected to, show up and take care of a million details and then plug in and start working right away too. And so as you craft your messaging, it's probably going to speak to those pain points for those that are experiencing that transition. Okay. All right. So this is a sample. Don't get overwhelmed. And we're not going to do a test, but I went through a training at one point that I absolutely loved and wanted to share this with you. And so, what I'm going to ask you to do, because you may not know what all these are without taking her test, but Sally Hogshead does this Fascination Advantage training, which is all about how you connect and market to people. And so, much like other personality profiles, this one is specific to crafting the right messaging and knowing what your superpower is. And so, I will just say that if you ever want to read the book, I have it at my office. You're welcome to check it out, or you can obviously buy it for yourself. In that, when you purchase the book, or you can go online to our website, you can get the free test, and or you can pay for the test if you haven't bought the book. And it's fascinating to figure out who am I and how do I relate to the world around me. With this chart, all I'm going to ask you to do is maybe look at it for a minute. I'm going to give you a few seconds to see if any of these primary roles resonate with you. And then if so, I want you just to look across the line there, the row, and see what words really stand out to you. Because if there's some words that are important or feel like they connect with you or resonate with you, I want you to write them down right now. The more, again, that you identify with things and then communicate those over and over again consistently, the more likely it is you're going to attract the right kinds of clients. And so we're going to talk about how do we do that. But I wanted to give you some examples. And this chart was just a fantastic example of a lot of great words that describe maybe who you are or what you deliver. I'll give it a few more seconds just so you can. And I am going to have some examples on the next page. And again, this will be sent out to you so you can do this later.
Okay.
Just wanted to give you a basic overview of a lot of great words based on how her testing, brings out what you deliver as a professional. All right.
I got my words.
All right, so we're moving on, and here's how we're going to create this anthem that helps you describe who you are and what you do. The first is we're going to pick the approach. This is how you show up in real estate. and what you give. And so your approach to how you do real estate is going to be very different from everybody else, right? There are people that are in the sales industry, different uh, divisions or different industries that work in a sales capacity, and you can go from one to the other, and you'll find that all of them are different. You walk onto a car lot, it's amazing how different the salesmen are. Some will be very right up front in your face. What can I do for you today? Others will hang back and say, look around, let me know what you see or what you're thinking. Others will be warm and shake your hand and what brought you in today? And they just want to have a conversation. So different people can approach it different ways, but you knowing what your approach is that's comfortable and consistent for you is going to help you with articulating what you're going to bring to your clients. So pick two or three of those words that define kind of how you approach sales, and then the next thing is going to be looking at assets. And I am one that says, like values, these assets are really just hugely beneficial to anyone. There's no right or wrong answer on this. But again, everyone's going to have a different focus. And so if what you bring to the table is, experience versus someone else who may not be experienced, but they bring good intuition or a consistency of grit, and determination, all of those are great assets. What I want to do is make sure that you're picking out words that really resonate with you. And if there's a word that you're thinking of that maybe you have had in your mind for a while, or it's become your mantra, use that instead. This is certainly not meant to be exhaustive. It's just meant to give you some ideas. Because I know for me, when I'm starting something like this, I just need a starting point. And maybe I'll tweak the word, or maybe I'll find a synonym that's a little more accurate for what I'm looking for. But I wanted to give you something to work from. So let me show you real quick how we can put this together so that you can convey, when a client asks you, why should I work with you? You can convey a response that's impressive, something that actually delivers an articulated statement that shares what your values are, or what the assets are that you bring to the table. So these are just some examples. And this is where your homework is going to come in, is you're going to work on crafting your own statement to showcase who you are and what you bring, so that you can hopefully convince someone when they ask you that question that you're the right fit for them, if again their values align. So first one, with my respected work ethic and competitive spirit, I bring a results oriented mindset to your real estate goals. That's if I were looking at a disc profile, this is a high D. This is someone who, if they're competitive, if they're results oriented, they're driven, they're just, this is your high D person. But again, if they say that in that sentence, any other person who resonates or wants that, they want someone who's going to take the lead and be a strong negotiator or competitive for them, they're going to value that. Anyone who maybe does not value that is going to be looking at the other agents and maybe choosing them. And that's okay. Because again, we don't have to serve everybody. The next one, buying a home is stressful, but don't worry, I'll always deliver level-headed guidance and capable experience. So this is someone who just diffuses the situation, someone who brings calm and clarity and helps someone feel confident that they're in good hands, right? And so if that's the kind of person you are, and these are the things you deliver, then that's a great way to convey that you're doing something of value for the consumer, that you're providing the guidance and expertise that they deserve. Another one, buying a home is more than a transaction. So you need an agent who will guide and protect you with focus and tenacity. And again, looking at, at how these play out, it's funny. I didn't actually plan it this way, but I go back to my other training for disc profiling, and certainly when you're talking about focus and transactional stuff, it's generally your high C, your person who is conscientious, who is detailed, who's going to guide and protect things and make sure that all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted, right? And then
Mhm.
the last one, my goal is to ensure you have a stress-free experience because I walk you through each step using skillful negotiations and dependable advice. So again, this is providing a value proposition. If someone is in a military relocation experience, they need it to be stress-free because they've got a million other things going on as they were just uprooted, right?
Mhm.
And if you
Yes.
can convey how you make it stress-free, not just I want to ensure that you have it, but here's how I do it. Here's what value I bring to the table. And again, your values or your assets may be very different than what's listed here, but these are some of the ways that you can convey in a quick 5 to 10 seconds who you are, what you do, and why it's important to them. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So I want you tonight to work on creating your anthem, the thing that you can deliver. And I would even go as far as to say, if you've ever seen brands that have maybe words beneath them in bullet point that convey what the brand is, I would say you can use those words that you've highlighted or circled or written down as part of the way that you offer brand. So there's a couple of agents I know that have uh, their name as a delivered brand asset, and then below their name they'll have something like trusted advisor, or they'll have something like integrity, quality, experience, right? And that's their quantifiers. That's the things that they're putting out there that are going to help connect them to consumers who are looking for those values. So those may be something that, as we talk about marketing, you may want to consider putting some of those words into some of your marketing pieces, whether that be an email signature that you have, or printed marketing pieces. So when you again craft this anthem or start to get clear on what things really are connecting you to others with value, we're going to talk about how to use that in the marketing side of things to convey it over and over again consistently. Sound good?
Yes.
All right, so we're going to go through two more things before we close out for today. The first is we all need to create an impression. So once you're clear on why you got into this business, what you're solving, the problem that you're overcoming, and how you deliver great results to your clients because you're connecting with them with the right messaging, now we've got to become recognizable. A brand is something that has an impression that is reiterated over and over and over again. And honestly, the only way to do that is to be consistent. And so we're going to get our messaging in front of our clients with this new brand. And so here's what we're going to go through. We're going to talk about brand identity real quick, and I'm going to give you some examples. And then again, your homework is going to be to do a little research and come up with something that makes sense for you. So with brand, we have a brand identity. And the identity is hopefully conveying in a visual way what the emotional and value connection is to the brand itself, which is intangible, right? With a brand identity, that's how we start to create our marketing materials. So we belong currently to the Remax brand. We chose to fly our business under the balloon that is so well known around the world. And that brand identity has become iconic. It is extremely well recognized. I don't know many agents that have an iconic or transcendent brand to what they do, but at the end of the day, that's the benefit of us aligning with a franchise that has an iconic brand, is that it makes it easy for people to recognize. I was on the phone yesterday actually with someone, and there was a lead that came in. And funny enough, I was not the only agent because this particular lead source gives leads to three different agents. But when I called, her first word was, "Oh, are you with Remax?" I said, "Yes, I am." And she said, "Well, my girlfriend, my best friend, told me I could only go with Remax because she
Mhm.
had such a great experience with them, and she didn't have a good experience with another brand. And she felt like if you were going to be guided through the process of finding your first home, that it should be with a Remax agent who's very professional." And so, because her friend recognized the brand and was loyal to the brand, her endorsement of the brand meant that I won um, that lead compared to the other agents. And that's the power of having a brand identity, of being able to convey through an emotional connection what value you bring. So as you think about building your brand, I want you to think about, what would it look like? What do you want to showcase to the world? Um, there are brands that are very bold. Some brands are brash. There are
Mhm.
brands that are classy. There are brands that are just fun. There are brands that are friendly, hopeful, relational, strong, warm. These are words that I just pulled out to hopefully give you some ideas as you look back at brands that you enjoy. So, for instance, we go back to that example of Nike. To me, it conveys an image of strong. It conveys an image, obviously, through athletics, but everything they do talks about and speaks to, and the images are of strong athletic people, correct? So they're very
Yes.
consistent in how they image themselves, so that when you see pictures or when you see that swoosh, you think in that way. Their bold type is bold and strong. They don't use cursive for their brand marketing, right? It's all consistent. So think about what image you would like to convey in your real estate space. Um, it should be authentic to who you are. And hopefully you can come up with a word or two that helps describe the imaging you want to present to the world, because I'm going to ask you to start evaluating as we go through the hands-on worksheet moving forward, or the hands-on workshop moving forward. I'm going to ask you to really take a look at your websites, at your print marketing, at your flyers, and see, is it consistently bringing a matching image to your brand? Or is there maybe some inconsistencies that would create maybe some questions in the consumer's mind because it just doesn't add up? Here's another example. So we're going to go through what it looks like. I just wanted to give you, as we wrap up, what some great examples of brands look like. So on the left, you're going to see, not only does she have her own logo created, but out of that logo, she has created consistent coloring and fonts. And because of that, she's now created, icons that she can also use through her website and media that match that feel, that consistent image, right? And so that's a really great look and feel for her brand. And this is what we're going to start working on developing, is your brand, so that it's recognizable consistently across all platforms and on all your print marketing. Okay. But it needs to line up with who your voice is, what problem you're solving, and what you're delivering. We don't want to just create an image to have an image. We want it to be authentic to you. The
Mhm.
next one is a fun company called Weston Maine, and all of their imaging that they use in their website, print marketing, and so on has just this very consistent vibe to it. That's kind of a throwback feel, right? It's almost got like a filter on it that makes you feel like you're nostalgic, or you're looking at old pictures, and it's just warm, and it's inviting. And so again, they have done a fantastic job by example of what it looks like to create marketing content and materials and brand imaging that aligns with who they are. And you can feel it when you look at the difference. Hers is very um, uh, uh, curly, very cursive, very light, very, just very different. Theirs is much more straightforward, but it's not blah, it's not bland. It's captures your attention in a completely different way, but it's also not bold and in your face. It's
Mhm.
just who they are. The one on the right, again, this particular one, I love this example because, again, they pulled in the color palette and showed how the brand imaging related to the brand they're representing. So this is not an independent, unlike the other two. This is a franchisee who decided to brand to the franchise colors so that there was a consistency, but he still developed his own imaging, his own font, his own texture to what he does that represents who he is. And again, I applaud anyone who's making the effort to really create a business model that can be scaled and eventually possibly sold, because they're building marketing that's relatable, it's consistent, it's professional, and of course, it's recognizable. So I'm guessing that in all of these markets, these people really stand out compared to all of the other agents that maybe don't have any kind of brand identity. They're just another agent. And so my goal with you guys is to help you elevate yourself and your business to make sure that you're presenting a message and then also presenting a brand identity that's going to help you identify the right consumers and attract the right people to you. And again, through that consistency of marketing message, my hope is that more people recognize who you are and start to send you repeat and referral business, which I know will happen because I've seen it in my own business. I've also seen it in others. It's the reason the advertising industry is so huge. If brand wasn't important, people wouldn't go back to the same products and services that they love. And so our job is to help you create a brand that people know, trust, and love so that you can build a more successful business with less effort. And with that, I am done.